All right, coming up on the show today, top 25 76ers free agent targets heading into free agency, which does begin on Friday. And we have a new James Harden update from Brian Windhorst and Mark Stein. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the show. Free agency does begin on Friday, as I said, and we'll be talking about every single move that the Sixers make and some of the players that they lose in free agency. There's going to be a lot that transpires with this basketball team, and we're talking about it, covering it every step of the way. Hit that subscribe button, approaching 11,000 views. We appreciate your support. Thanks so much for being here with us today. So in free agency for Philadelphia, obviously the biggest name to watch and the biggest story to follow is James Harden. And because the free agency pool, as we're about to uncover, is somewhat thin, James Harden is a priority for this basketball team. But at what cost? He is coming off a regular season in which he led the NBA in assists. He also averaged a career best assist to turnover ratio. I've given him a lot of credit for kind of changing and altering his game as he's gotten a little bit older. That vision is really special. The two-man game with Joel Embiid was very effective last year. And last year, the assist to turnover ratio was the best of his career because of that. He shot the second highest three-point percentage in his career and averaged at least 20 points for an 11th consecutive season. Say what you want about James Harden. I've never been the biggest James Harden guy. I think that the ball dies when he is the primary ball handler because he dribbles the ball for 18 to 20 seconds of the shot clock, but he is one of the best offensive players of all time, and of course we know about those playoff struggles for sure, but in the regular season at the very least, this is a guy who can put the biscuit in the basket at a very elite level. But despite Harden's strengths, when you're giving him a multi-year contract extension, more information coming up on that here in just a few moments, Harden's going to turn 34 years old in August. He ranks 7th in total minutes played among active players and had moments during the playoffs when he struggled against the Celtics. He did win Game 1 and Game 4 against Boston. In both of those performances, he was great, notching more than 40 points, and had 2 game winners in both of those games. But as that series grew on, he wasn't the same offensive player. And is that because there's a lot of mileage on the tires on top of the fact that sometimes he no-shows in some of these playoff games? As for his next contract, the Sixers on a nearly level playing field with teams under the cap because of the over 38 rule. For what the Sixers can offer Harden, it's a pretty good deal. 4-year, $213 million contract. That's the max that the Sixers can pay Harden. A team like the Houston Rockets, they have a bunch of cap space available. They can offer him 4 years and $205 million. So the Sixers can actually offer him a little bit more because of that over 38 rule. And Harden last year did sacrifice around $14-15 million to help the Sixers bring in PJ Tucker and another one of his former Rocket teammates in Daniel House. So does that play a role in these contract negotiations? As for other things that the Sixers could pull off this offseason that you have to keep in mind with the financial spending, Tyrese Maxey is eligible for that rookie extension, and some dates to look out for. I'm recording this show on June 28th. NBA free agency starts on June 30th officially, so the last day for Harden to opt out is on Thursday for that $35.5 million contract. June 29th is the last day to tender a qualifying offer to Paul Reed. July 3rd, $8 million contract of DeAnthony Melton becomes guaranteed. October 23rd is the last day to extend the contract of Tyrese Maxey on that eligible rookie extension. And then the October 31st deadline is the deadline to exercise the fourth-year team option for Jaden Springer. Some people want to see him get more minutes under Nick Nurse. I haven't seen a lot so far for what he's done with the Blue Coats or what he's done minimally at the NBA level. Free agents for the Sixers. James Harden has that player option. Montrezl Harrell didn't accept that player option. Jalen McDaniels, bird rights. Shake Milton, bird rights. George Niang, early bird rights. There's been some chatter that the Sixers would like to bring him back. Paul Reed, restricted free agent on those bird rights. Mac McClung, non-bird, but he's a restricted free agent. And Lewis King, restricted free agent. So with that, let me ask you this. The biggest priority for the Sixers this offseason to get back to championship contention is what? Now, I've been heartbroken just like you about the Sixers failing to make it out of the second round of the playoffs since 2001, but they have been top 3 in wins since 2020, and they've been in the final 8 under Joel Embiid over the last several years outside of what? The bubble? They've really made it to the second round almost every single year. So keep that in mind that the Sixers have been a very successful, somewhat, basketball team, but obviously not to our standards because for us in Philadelphia, it's championship or bust. So the top 25 NBA free agents. This is the list that we put together here at Chat Sports. Kyrie Irving, number 1. All signs point to him going back to the Dallas Mavericks. According to reports, the Mavericks are really the only team that can offer him the amount of money that he's seeking on the open market. Obviously, teams very hesitant with Kyrie because he's somewhat flaky. Number 2, James Harden. Now, this reporting coming from Mark Stein that Fred VanVleet and Dillon Brooks continue to be the free agents most frequently billed as Houston-bound this week, with James Harden increasingly projected to return to Philadelphia on a 2 or 3 year contract. Brian Windhorst just reported moments ago that the Sixers are expected to offer Harden a contract that is, quote, considerably higher than his $35.5 million player option. That scares me, considering his age, soon to be 34 years old, and the injuries have racked up, the play starting to slip a little bit, but if Tyrese Maxey makes that jump and you trade away Tobias Harris and you run it back with James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, and another wing under Nick Nurse, I'm somewhat intrigued by that. Fred VanVleet coming in at number 3. He's the ideal James Harden replacement if Harden does leave, but there's buzz that the Rockets could offer him about $40 million per year. He's going to get paid. Draymond Green, unrestricted free agent after not accepting his player option. He didn't opt into that 1-year contract. There's a lot of talk that he's going to return to the Golden State Warriors, but he's represented by Rich Paul and Clutch Sports. They are open to listening to offers from everything that I've heard, everything that I've seen out there. How about the evolution of Brook Lopez? Brook Lopez came into the league with his brother Robin a long time ago, and he's a top 5 center in this league because he's added a 3-point shot. Very good defensive player as well. I think that he's going to get paid, and it's pretty wild that a lot of teams have him on the pecking order ahead of a guy like Nikola Vucevic, Sixers legend, who comes in at number 6. There is so much talk and so much momentum behind Donte DiVincenzo going to the New York Knicks. The Knicks have this Villanova infatuation. They signed Jalen Brunson last year on a contract that I called at the time a bargain, and I think that Brunson was a top 5 point guard last year, changes the culture, won a state championship in Chicago as a high schooler, nearly committed to Temple actually, went to Villanova, won 2 titles there. They have Brunson. They traded for Josh Hart. Donte DiVincenzo, I think, is going to go there. My projection, about a 3-year, $30 million deal. His player option with the Warriors that he opted out of on Tuesday was just shy of $5 million, so a nice little payday there for Donte DiVincenzo. Christian Wood, a big who can stretch the floor, but the talk about Wood is not a knock on his ability. Guy is a big who can stretch the floor, knock down threes, is extremely athletically gifted, but everybody seems to complain about his cultural fit everywhere that he goes. There's some talk behind the Miami Heat being interested, or the Golden State Warriors who need to fortify that front court. I have no idea where Wood's going to go, but Miami and that Heat culture I think could be a good fit with him alongside Bam Adebayo, and the Warriors, as I said, do need to bulk up that front court. Cam Johnson, restricted free agent. He's at number 9 here. Very good 3-point shooter. If he goes back to the Nets, I won't be surprised. D'Angelo Russell, I don't like his game. He's like James Harden light to me. According to reports, looks as though the Lakers are going to run it back, and he's going to return to the purple and gold. Josh Hart has a player option. I think he's going back to New York for sure. Good fit there, and certainly helped change that culture alongside Brunson after Hart was traded there. Austin Reaves, is he going to get about $20 million per year from the Los Angeles Lakers? Undrafted free agent. They call him the Arkansas Kobe, and his development has been really, really impressive. Khris Middleton opted out. He's an unrestricted free agent. That tells me a couple of different things. that he wants to test what's out there, but that player option was for $40 million. I'm not sure he's going to get that. Or because this free agency pool is thin, is Middleton going to test the market to see what he can get? And is another team going to overpay for a wing player who helped the Bucks win a championship? And for Milwaukee, could they be players for a Damian Lillard trade? Look out for that. I think that's somewhat sneaky. Jakob Poeltl, solid big, played well alongside friend VanVleet. Jordan Clarkson is a walking bucket. I think that he would be a great trade asset if Tobias Harris got sent to the Utah Jazz. Bruce Brown, how much did he up his value on the open market with that run to the NBA championship playing for the Denver Nuggets? I'm not sure Denver's going to be able to afford him, and I think he's going to go somewhere else and get paid as a very good bench guy, maybe a fringe starter. Matisse Thybulle, our friend, restricted free agent. If he can knock down threes at a consistent clip, which he's never been able to do, he would have so much value out there because he's one of the best wing defenders in the NBA. Josh Okogie, unrestricted free agent. Kelly Oubre Jr., good stats, bad team player. When he was on a good team in the Golden State Warriors, he was not good. Jeremy Grant, another Sixers legend, part of the process era. He's really turned himself into a good player. Coming out of Syracuse, he really could only knock down that corner three offensively in expanding his arsenal, but he's done much more than that. Has a little bit of a handle, a much better shot, very good athlete as he's always been. Naz Reid was a part of this list, but he's going back to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Russell Westbrook, I think, could be in play to go back to the Los Angeles Clippers. They're said to have a lot of interest in him. PJ Washington, solid role player at this point of his career. I don't think that Harrison Barnes would be an awful Tobias Harris replacement. He doesn't need the ball as much to be effective. He's probably a better defender than Tobias Harris, who said yesterday that casual Sixers fans would trade him for a crumble cookie. That's not the case. You're just overpaid for the production or lack thereof. And then Patrick Beverley rounds out our list of the top 25 free agents. Beverley is, of course, a fascinating player and a fun one to talk about, right? Because as far as intensity and swagger goes, he brings a lot to the table, man, and he's very, very entertaining. As a backup point guard for a team that's looking for a culture change, he could be a good fit there. When he went to the Chicago Bulls, they did go 14-9 down the stretch. It is hard to gauge how much that means because a lot of teams at that point are mailing it in if they're bad or they're starting to rest some of their starters, but Beverley nonetheless a pretty intriguing player. High-level defense, okay three-point shooter, but sometimes he just talks a little bit too much shit and drives a lot of people crazy. So that right there, the top 25 list of the best free agents out there. Make sure you subscribe to the show. Every move that the Sixers make, we have you covered. Some live shows potentially in store as well. You don't want to miss that. It's Philadelphia 76ers now. I'm Chase Sr. It's Philly all the way, all day. Thanks for watching.